Vincent with SCA Iowa and another introductory video for the Society for Creative Anachronism. The SCA is a worldwide historic recreation organization dedicated to recreating all the best aspects of the Middle Ages. Anything that was made, used, consumed before 1600, we have friends who enjoy learning about it, exploring it, trying it, teaching others about it. It's a way to explore history hands-on. Our members do this by working on a variety of projects at home, participating on online activities, or participating at local meetings. But of course, our favorite is participating at the weekend events. There aren't many requirements to participating at these weekend events, but the requirements that do exist include wearing an attempt at historic clothing, but also signing into the event at the registration table. This video talks about the process of signing in at these events at the registration tables. We know that signing into events can sometimes be confusing, especially for our newer members. Because of this, we're going to try and do our best to explain the process and describe everything you need in order to make it go quickly. Unfortunately, there are a few different ways that the registration process can be run. Although the majority of the events held within the Kingdom of Calontir should use the same forms for the registration process, this might not always hold true. There are a very small number of weekend events that do not charge a site fee where this process may not follow this exact process. Events held outside our Kingdom of Calontir may also use a slightly different process at their sign-in tables. However, the general idea of this should remain about the same. Now, longer SCA events, called wars, usually have a different process that collects a little more information. These also usually have an online registration process that happens in advance of the event, and most members take advantage of this. But we usually suggest you get in at least a couple smaller weekend events before attempting one of these week-long foreign wars. The Society for Creative Anachronism is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and as such is required by the IRS to maintain certain records on monetary transitions. This IRS oversight is part of the reasons for the steps in this process that we're going to be talking about with the registration table. One of the other steps in the process is to collect information and signatures for legal waivers. Obviously, there are some of our activities that can be dangerous, and of course we want to make sure that everyone is aware of the hazards and we limit our own liability. Some of the particularly dangerous activities within the SCA involve horses. Because of this, special attention is paid to highlighting the dangers involved with participating or being around equestrian activities. These three areas will represent the three parts of the registration process that you will go through. The equestrian waiver only is used at events where horses are present, so you won't see them at events where there are no horses. But let's go through the sign-in process. When you arrive at an SCA event, one of the first things that you should be seeing is a sign pointing you towards this registration table. Now, just to make things a little more confusing for you, there are several names that this may be going by. Different groups will refer to it in different ways. Some of the old legacy names include Troll. This is a bit of a joke from way back in the day that just doesn't die. Another common name given to the registration table is Gate, but at least this one kind of makes sense. And of course it could be referred to as sign-in or registration. Usually a line forms up as people work their way through the registration process. Sometimes clipboards with some of the paperwork will be handed back through the line in order to help speed things up. But the whole sign-in process usually only takes a couple minutes. The first registration form you usually come to is the waiver form. If this is your first SCA event, you may actually want to read the waiver statement on the form. This is a general reminder that some of the aspects of what we do with this hobby are dangerous, and it's your responsibility to be aware of the hazards related to specific activities at the event that you choose to participate in. You can find this text in advance of the event but it's usually kind of buried on the Kingdom website. On this form that you have, the waiver form, you'll print out your SCA name if you have chosen one and your legal name. If you don't have an SCA name yet, that's totally fine. You can just put your regular legal name again. On the next column, there's going to be a signature or a checkbox labeled for a blue card. If you're a paid member of the SCA, then as part of your membership registration process, you will have signed a waiver that is kept on record. You'll see a number of paid members who simply check mark this box and move on without signing. Even though I'm a paid member, I usually sign my name on the signature line anyway, just out of habit. Usually the signature box right next to that, there's a space for your membership number. Now remember that if you aren't a paid member of the SCA, you can still participate at events. You just won't have a membership number. You'll likely see a number of people on the sign-up sheet who also don't have membership numbers either way. Following this, there's a column for the group, which refers to your home SCA group. If you don't yet know what your home SCA group is called, you can simply put down your hometown or just put new or leave it blank. It's used to help the group understand where the people participating at that event are coming from. Kind of think of it as market research. Now, there is a youth form that is the youth waiver. If you are a parent or a guardian bringing a minor into an event, then this is going to be very similar, and you'll need to fill it out and sign it for your children. These are often differentiated by printing them out on a different colored piece of paper to help everyone identify them. They have about the same information and columns as the other waiver form. So a column for SCA name, a column for legal name, and then the parent or guardian signature, as well as a member number and home group of the minor. The equestrian waiver. Now we know that horses are a fun addition to many of our SCA events, but horses are animals that can be dangerous to be around, especially if you're unfamiliar with them. Now, most of us in our modern lives have very limited exposure to horses and can forget how dangerous they can be, how easily we can inadvertently get injured around them. Events that have equestrian activities require all people attending the event to sign an equestrian waiver form, regardless of whether you're participating in the equestrian activities or not. It's possible at events like this that the horses may be ridden around the site, and so everybody may be potentially exposed to some degree to the equestrian activities. Now, once you've completed the waivers, they need to collect a registration fee. The fee schedule for attendance can be found not only on the event flyer, but also on the event website, and usually posted at the registration table, frequently even on the social media event pages leading up to the event day. Now, a couple key points about the fee schedule. It's important to remember that minors will quite often get in on a reduced or even sometimes free registration fee. But it's important to check this in advance so that you know how much it's likely to be. And it's different for every event. Each event sets the price structure for that event, so you'll need to check for that event to see what those fees will be. Another key point is that paid members receive a $5 discount on their event registration fee. So you'll see two prices listed for the adult prices, the adult registration and the adult member registration. The second one reflects the $5 discount. There are a relatively small number of longer events, usually foreign wars, these longer week-long events, that have a sliding fee schedule based on when you attend. Some of these events will also have a family cap, which is usually the most that a large family would have to pay if they are bringing multiple children along to participate. Now, the exchequer form, this is the registration form used by the volunteers staffing the sign-in table. And it's based on, well, if you think about exchequer is a medieval term for an accountant, so it's the accounting form. It helps the group do their accounting at the end of the day to make sure that the correct money has been collected. It's vitally important in order to meet our requirements in the non-profit status with the IRS. Most of the time, this form is filled out by one of the members sitting at the table. It's not something that you fill in as the person signing in. To fill out this, they may request to see a photo ID as well as your membership card. They need to record the actual name being used because they want to track the fee to the person. And handing them an ID helps speed things up because they can spell your name more easily. On this form, they will track all the charges adding up to your total site fee. So it will allow them to record whether you're an adult or a minor, whether you're a member or a non-member, and whether you're paying for a feast or any other associated fees. These sheets are an important step in the process, as one of the members at the end of the day is required to go through and make sure that all of the charges throughout the day add up and the correct amount of money was collected. When it comes to paying for your site fee, you usually have a couple of options, but some are only available at some events. Occasionally we still have people wanting to use paper checks, and you'll need to use the correct name of the group to write down on the check so that the group can deposit the check. Otherwise, they may have to track you down afterwards. This is listed on the site flyer and usually at the registration table as well. Now, most people signing in at the table are going to pay with cash. And there's one person at the table as the cashier, as the person who will collect the money from you. The person who helps you fill out the waiver form will likely direct you down the table to the person taking the cash. Some events are equipped to take cards, although this isn't as frequent of an option as we would like. Quite often, these systems are required to connect to the internet in order to function, and some of our camping locations have pretty spotty coverage, so it makes them difficult to use at the registration table. Now, I can say by far my favorite way to pay for my registration fee is not to pay at the registration table, but to pay in advance. I like to be able to pre-register for events and pay online before I even get there. Only some events are set up to allow for pre-registration, and this information will be provided on the website flyer, on the social media feed in advance of the event. There's usually a cutoff several days to up to a week before the event of pre-registration in order for them to collect the funds and get the information that's been recorded printed out and ready to use the day of the event. Pre-registration for the larger foreign war events can have a cutoff of up to a month before the event, so you'll want to get in as soon as you can. Just because the event has pre-registration doesn't mean that you have to pre-register. It's just an option, a nice option. You can always pay when you sign in. Even if you do pre-register for the event, you must check in at the sign-in table. Everybody must check in as they're coming into an event. Now, we do have some hints in order to make this whole process go just a little bit easier. First off, look around, sign into the registration table before you go wandering around. You don't want to forget to sign in. It's really important. But beyond that, don't bring all of your stuff with you when you come into the registration table. Go in, sign in to the event at the registration table, and then go out and get your stuff. The area around the registration table often ends up being a choke point of traffic early in the day. And you can help this process by just getting your registration taken care of and then going out and getting your stuff. Since many of these events happen at different locations across the region around the country, giving yourself a few minutes to investigate the layout of where everything's at before bringing your stuff in can help you out as well. You also need to plan on when you need to sign in to the event. If you're planning on attending a specific activity scheduled for early in the day, be sure to arrive at the site early enough to sign in with the registration table. Quite often, there tends to be an early morning rush of people trying to get through the registration process right after the event opens. This can slow things down significantly. And if you have a class or an activity that you plan on attending early on in the day, you can do yourself a favor by giving yourself a few extra minutes to finish the sign-in process before your activity starts. Another thing you can do is to have exact change. Most of us don't really enjoy queuing up in line, and by having this exact change, you can help speed the process through the gate registration. Also, by having your membership card, if you have one, or a photo ID close at hand so you don't have to dig for it, can speed things up as well. Now, I should probably take a second and mention site tokens. There has been a long-standing tradition in the SCA of handing out site tokens to people attending events. You can think of these as a receipt or a souvenir that you receive in exchange for your paid attendance. Site tokens can take many forms, ranging from pilgrimage badges with ribbons or beads or specific items. These are often used as proof that you paid entry into the event site, which means that sometimes they help to show that you've paid when you try and leave the event. So you may have to have this receipt of entry, a receipt of being paid, in order to prove that you can re-enter. Also at the sign-up table, you quite often have the sign-up for feast. This comes with an extra charge for this multi-course and often historically inspired meal. Occasionally it also happens that there's a map nearby so you can record who you would like to sit next to. Going someplace new and trying new things can always be stressful. Hopefully this video showing you the process that you'll go through as you sign into an event, it alleviates some of this mystery and reduces some of this potential stress that you feel before you attend an event. Now, obviously, we want you to bring your friends and family to these events because that's where your adventure is really going to get started. Hopefully, we will see you soon at the registration table at your local SCA Society for Creative Anachronism event.